Good morning and welcome to this session of the live coaching classes conducted by the Board of Studies of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. Good morning to all of you. And on a personal note, yes, our Hitesh ji is there. Welcome, sir. Mahadev Bharadwaj. Janvi is there. Welcome, Madam Memon Rafiq Bhai. And Menka Kumari, all of you are here. Today is Thursday. And so, as you all know, Guruvar. And let me begin by saluting my own Guru, Professor K.S. Anantharaman, one of the greatest teachers of law. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. With this, let us without much ado jump into the topic. We have made sufficient progress in this topic on accounts and accounts of companies. So we have discussed many things. Suppose you have any doubt on any of the earlier topics, today being the last day of this topic, please do raise your query in the query pad so that I can take it up today. And so we then sort of discussed about NFRA. Am I correct? NFRA. I'm sorry, I'm just pushing through the slides because we've covered all this, right? NFRA, right? In fact, there's a word in English called nefarious. You can check it out in the dictionary. So it sort of looks like the NFRA, okay? Nefarious. Just look at the meaning for the word nefarious. N-E-F-A-R-I-O-U-S. But yeah, sometimes NFRA is considered to be a little nefarious. But then it has a lot of powers. The NFRA was formed as a monitoring body for the accounting and related professions because of a perceived failure of the professions to protect the investors and the users of financial statements from what was known as the Satyam scandal. Right. Read more about it on Wiki, about Mr. Ramalinga Raju and what he did, and then how the Satyam company broke up and all. But then, while you are there, let us not also forget that it is members of our institute, okay, who worked hard to, revive the company. No less than our past president, Padma Shri T.N. Manoharan, was co-opted onto that board as a independent director, non-executive independent director. And he worked like mad to ensure that the shareholders of Satyam did not lose much. And the value creation happened again, thanks to his advice and his hard work. And so that also should be mentioned, that it's not as if, though one member did create the damage by signing a false balance sheet, many of us, including Padma Shri T.N. Manoharan, our past president of the institute, they went all out to ensure that the damage was controlled and things became all right. A book is also going to be written, co-authored by my good friend V. Pattabhiram and Padma Shri T.N. Manoharan on that Satyam, the real story behind Satyam. Many people really don't know what Satyam was all about. It's like, I always talk about it, think of it as the elephant and the six blind men. When you ask about, when even chartered accountants, qualified members of our institute, when you ask them about Satyam scandal, they don't know the totality of the story. They know one or two things. They say falsification of FDs, bogus employees, like they take one aspect of it and they say this is what it was all about. It was not. It was a bigger thing, and so it needed to be understood. Why? Because only then we will understand why such a fraud cannot be again conducted. Such a fraud cannot happen again for many reasons. Maybe I'll go into it when I take up fraud reporting, duty of audited report fraud under auditor's topic. I'll talk about it a little more. But then, whatever happened, Satyam has colored the opinion of the government about the profession. In NFRA has been formed to make recommendations to the central government, which is nothing but the ministry, on formulation and adoption of accounting and auditing standards. No problem. That's perfectly all right, because unless these accounting standards get the approval of government, no corporate is going to respect them. So we do need it. Okay, that is okay. But then again, remember, who can formulate these standards, right? In all fairness, it has to be only members of our institute. So we are continuously, NFRA will be begging the question. Adoption, yes, they can ensure that it is mandatory and all that. Content of the accounting standard, I think somewhere it's too technical and it's better left to the professionals, that is the members of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. Monitor and enforce compliance. Now, that is something that the government can do and NFRA should do. Ensure that whenever there is a non-compliance with the accounting standards, there should be stiff action on the perpetrator or the company which is avoiding it. This will strengthen the power of a member of the institute auditing that company, because he can always say, hey, look here, if you don't do it, I have no other option but to report you to the NFRA. Okay. Now, overseeing the quality of service of the professions. Do you notice the plural there? It's not only us, our friends in the Institute of Cost Accountants of India, whatever they call themselves now, and the company secretaries would also come into this. Chalo, no problem. Nothing wrong in having somebody to oversee the quality. All along we were relying on peer review and our own, but then now we have to, maybe they will come out with some audit, some method of qualities. I don't know what's in store in the future. As of now, nothing. Perform such other functions relating to above activities. Right. Friends, you're also studying a topic on auditing, I hope, as part of your very, very basic level, intermediate level. When you come to final, it will become more practical and tougher, and which is why your articleship would help you. If you have done good audits during your articleship, if you have learned, you would not actually have to study for auditing. It will be a matter of just documenting your experience, which is what I used to do in my auditing paper. Okay, for the record, I got 68 only, but then that was enough for me to clear the exam. Point I'm trying to make here is audit is 60% documentation, 40% performance, 60% documentation. If you don't have the documentation, tomorrow you cannot prove that you did it. See, did you ask that question? Yes. Where? Proof. What answer did he give? Yes. What did you do about that answer? This cycle needs to be documented, which is something that they may want to verify. So more than anything else, an audit of an audit is always a documentation audit. Because nobody can audit the way I conducted it. Everything has to be documented and available so that I should be able to show them I asked these questions and these were the answers I got. So these were the conclusions I have arrived at. This is the cycle, okay, at least from the perspective of, shall we say, statutory audit. So I know I'm just running through this for continuity's sake. We've already done it yesterday. Chairperson, not more than 15 members. Chairperson shall be a person of eminence and having expertise in accountancy, auditing, finance, or law. Now, somebody had asked a question in the last class. The last question in the query pad I saw, I don't remember who it was, I'm sorry. But the question was whether a chartered accountant could become a chairperson. 100%, definitely. Why not? Okay, we can. We can become, a member of our institute can become, okay, Pooja is giving the meaning of nefarious and all that. So nefarious has, all the 4 alphabets, right? NFRA is there in nefarious, correct? Not in that order, but then it is there. Anyway, no problem. So, as I told you, these opinions are mine. Okay, just as a matter of interest and as a matter of improving your vocabulary, right? Today you got one more new word to add to your vocabulary. Nefarious, meaning wicked, whatever. Right. Yeah. Bandreddy says Mahindra bought Satyam. Absolutely correct. In fact, Tech Mahindra is a wonderful company. So it shows that Satyam already had value. It was only that Ramlinga Raju who had falsified the turnover and bloated it. But within that bloated balance sheet, there was a good company, which is what Padma Shetty and Manoharan could do. He could revive that good company, give confidence to the investors, take it forward, and then, tendered. They went for a tender, sale of the company by a tender. And see, that's something really great. Instead of becoming insolvent and instead of going to the dogs, this company went on, as rightly pointed out by Bandreddy, to be bought by Mahindra Group and went on to become what is today known as Tech Mahindra, right? Because Tech Mahindra needed to acquire, inorganically grow fast. And this was a great acquisition for Mahindra Group. And of course, Infosys was one of the companies which were invited for the tender to bid, but famously, Mr. Narayana Murthy, the chief mentor, decided not to bid because he said it's tainted. It's a tainted company. I mean, that was possibly I don't know how correct it was. Commercially, it was wrong because it would have added a lot of value to the shareholders of Infosys. Anyway, this is a very, very esoteric topic, because something nothing wrong. It might have been a tainted company. Today, it's coming to you clean. And so the real ethics here is not about identifying whether it's a tainted company, but whether you are able to add value to your shareholders or not. If you are able to do it, I don't think there would have been anything wrong. But Infosys' loss was Mahindra's gain. Can a CS be chairman of NFRA? This is a good question, Hitesh ji. This is what I'm worried about. Because I hope not is the only answer I can give you. But then I'm sure not. Because, it cannot be, he cannot, a company secretary all said and done does not have the expertise in auditing. Okay. Finance, okay, he can claim. Law, definitely. Accountancy and auditing. I would strongly, 100%, who am I? I'm a chota Aam Aadmi here. Okay, like you, nothing. I'm nobody. The big wigs will decide. But I doubt. I'll tell you one more thing. Even if your company secretary is offered, he or she will not accept it because they know that they will be in for a lot of trouble once they accept the position. Because thereafter, every chartered accountant, every senior member of the institute would be gunning for them and trying to question their credibility. So, no CS with a little bit of sanity would accept the position. Even if it is offered, it will not be accepted. A cost accountant possibly, without a CA qualification, could look at it. But I seriously tell you, either a bureaucrat with the CA qualification, or a auditor general, retired auditor general, somebody like that, or or a member of our institute. So this is my view. Again, this is a very delicate topic on NFRA. So I'm giving my views left, right, and center. But then, as a member, I'm giving it, and maybe as your teacher. But okay. Now, but the real question that getting the examination is in the next paragraph. The chairperson and members who are in full-time employment with NFRA, full-time, shall not be associated with any audit firm. This means there could be co-opted members who could be partners of audit firms. Because if you want a leading chartered accountant, partner of a leading firm of chartered accountants to come on to the NFRA and give advice, or a CFO of a company, you can't expect them to have no other connection. So only this applies only to people in full-time employment who have become employees of the NFRA. Okay, they shall not be associated with any audit firm, including related consultancy firms. For example, you have leading audit firms, especially the four big multinational, the big four as we call them, who also have consulting wings. They have private companies or LLPs that engage in consulting. More about it when we come to auditing and prohibited services and all that. But the point is they do have consulting wings. And so this gentleman or lady should not be associated either with the audit firm or with the consultancy firm. During the course of their appointment and 2 years after ceasing to hold such appointment. So this, in other words, it cannot be like they do a favor and then they get the appointment subsequently on resigning. Even after resigning, for 2 years, they cannot hold. This could be a classic question in the exam, right? Where they could inform you and ask you whether that is right or wrong and all that. You will find this condition, not to hold that office recurring in other bodies also, Competition Commission, elsewhere also you will find similar words. 15, chairperson plus not more than 15 members. Yeah. Plus, that is excluding the chairperson, correct. But sometimes, I have a doubt, Pooja. I'll check up and get back to you. I'll take it on advisement. Because in my eagerness to simplify the language of the section, I give connotations like this: chairperson plus I think it is chairperson, excluding the chairperson only. But anyway, I'll take a call on this. Next class, I'll tell you. Okay. NFRA can also investigate into matters of professional or other misconduct. This can be done either suo motu, that is on their own motion by knowing about it, or a reference made to it by central government. Where the NFRA has initiated an investigation, no other institute or body shall initiate. See, this is where sometimes we are worried, but then it's okay. Also, I told you that NFRA is a quasi-judicial body. Quasi-judicial body. It is not a court. It is not a court. Therefore, it is not bound by the strict procedures applicable to a civil court under the CPC, the Code of Civil Procedure 1908. But some of the powers which are vested in a civil court under the CPC 1908 are available to the NFRA. This is there. See, this provision you will find comes continuously in all these quasi-judicial body. As I told you, NCLT, NCLAT, Competition Commission, you name it. Okay, Fiat under the Foreign Exchange Management Act, you will have all that will come in the final exam. All of them have the same powers. Okay, discovery and production of books of account and other documents. Okay, so whenever the government comes out with the case, now they have to provide all the evidence that they have to the other party. It should be put to you. That's called discovery. Similarly, if the defendant or the respondent has got some evidence in his hands, he should first produce it to the tribunal or the NFRA, and that will be made available to the opposite party. Only then the case can be argued. Because if I have some evidence that, you know, these movies and all, you'll see suddenly somebody will bring a letter and show this is the letter and therefore it's not possible in a real court. Okay. If you want to produce any evidence in that court, it has to be first filed and authenticated. Then the other party will be given an opportunity to refute it. Only then it will be admitted as evidence. Forget. It will be admitted as evidence. This process is called discovery. Okay. So when NFRA is trying to say something, but then this again, in my humble view, is not a very good idea. But then NFRA is also conducting the investigation, and they are also able to sit in judgment and be like a civil court. I think that power should be with the tribunal or even the NCLAT, at least with the tribunal. See, suppose I'm not happy, I should be able to go to. I can't go to the same guy. He is accusing me. I can't go and show him evidence. I've given any evidence to him because he made. Tomorrow I have to go on appeal. That's where the problem starts. NFRA being given such powers. Anyway, see, the same power that we see here is available to an income tax officer or the assessing officer under the Income Tax Act. All of them they are all quasi-judicial bodies. Remember, the assessing officer in income tax or GST officer is a quasi-judicial body. He has quasi-judicial powers. I always make this point when I'm not given reasonable opportunity by the department, when they ask me to come and produce it tomorrow. Many times, we recently, all these so-called faceless assessments, there have been such a miscarriage of principles of natural justice. See, one of the important or possibly the most important principle of natural justice is that a person who is a respondent or defendant in a case should be given a reasonable opportunity. What is reasonable will depend from case to case. But then, by a normal yardstick, 15 days, 7 days. Okay, minimum 7 days. Okay, so 3 or 4 of the cases where I have appeared last year on the last batch of cases, I got orders that were so bad. So we went to the High Court and we got them quashed on writ petitions. We went on a writ on the basis that we have been denied a reasonable opportunity. Which is why whenever I appear before an officer, I always make a point, you are a quasi-judicial body. You are bound by the principles of natural justice. You are not a court, but you are bound by the principles of natural justice. The time limit given to me is not sufficient for me to produce the document. You have to give me time. I'll ask for the time, and I will also mention. So the reason the assessee may be given a reasonable opportunity to produce. Sorry for giving you such practical inputs, but these will swing a case. When I put that in writing and I give it to the officer, he is worried. Because tomorrow, on that one ground alone, without even going into the merit of it, I can have the assessment set aside. On that alone, I can get it set aside. That is why they'll be worried. Okay, which is always, remember that when you are practicing or you are representing the tax department of a large corporate, remember this. First thing you do is tell them, you're not giving me reasonable opportunity. But unless you put it in writing, unless you state it, it will not be considered by the court. You go there, they'll say, when did you propose? Did you even tell him? When did you do it? Like that. So you need to put it in writing in the first representation itself. The time limit is not enough. You're taking the case up fag end of the period, time barring period, then giving only 15 days for doing, see, all this, you will have to make that point in writing. Then it will happen. Okay. So, also summoning and enforcing the attendance of persons and all that. See, these powers of the court have been given so that they can do it. Right? Issuing commissions for examination of witnesses or documents. I will explain it here, my dear friends. Whenever you come across it in your study, not here, final also remember this. Commission means, suppose somebody is ill, they are in hospital, or they are aged, and they are not able to come to the court and give evidence. Then the court will issue commissions. That is, one of the officers of the court, one lawyer, young junior advocate, would be asked to go to that person's place personally, and that person, the lawyer will be given the questions that has to be asked. He will ask the questions and then he will document them and then verify. Because as an advocate, he can say, I asked the question, this is the answer given. I asked the question, then he will certify it and bring it. That person is called a commissioner of oaths. That advocate, junior advocate who is going to do this would be called a commissioner of oaths. He'll be appointed by the court. The same power which is available to the court is available to the NFRA also. Somebody says, if the NFRA says, come and produce the books, he says, I'm very old or I'm ill, I'm in the hospital. Still, they have to ensure that certain questions are put to him and either he has to deny or accept it. Then the NFRA can send an officer. In this case, obviously, an officer of the NFRA would come to this person and take a commission. Okay, for your information. So the penalty is pretty stiff because professional or other misconduct, if it is proved, then the penalty is 1 lakh minimum up to 5 times the fees received. In the case of firms, 5 lakh minimum up to 10 times the fees received. And also there's a power to debar the member from being appointed as auditor, internal auditor or valuer. Remember, by this time, he would have been debarred from the institute also. By this time, if it is proved, already he would have been debarred from the institute or his debarring would be already in place. And he can be debarred for a minimum period of 6 months to a maximum period of 10 years. So in a way, NFRA now has control over us. A person who is not happy with this, okay, he can go for an appeal against the order of the NFRA to the National Company Law Appellate Tribunal, which is above the NCLT. See, any issue under Companies Act, when you have a dispute with the MCA, the law has provided certain appellate remedies. So, first appellate remedy under the Companies Act is NCLT. The second, if you're not happy with NCLT, then you go to NCLAT. If you're not happy with the order of NCLT, then you go to NCLAT. Whereas here, if you're not happy with the order of NFRA, directly you go to NCLAT, which means NCLT and NFRA are at the same level. Directly you go there. Okay, which is good because let's not waste one layer and go directly there. Okay, now again important from the exam point of view, which are the companies to which NFRA applies? Not all companies. Okay, NFRA power extends only to certain companies. Okay, listed companies. See, which means NFRA will come into play only if these companies are involved, right? Then they get the power to investigate into professional misconduct and all that. Obviously, in the case of listed companies, because that is where the whole thing started. Also, certain unlisted companies, provided they have a paid-up capital of 500 crores or turnover, these are all OR conditions. So, in case Pooja is having a doubt, each one is an OR. Paid-up capital 500 crores or turnover 100 crores or outstanding loans and debentures of 500 crores. Not simultaneous. All of them cannot be satisfied. Even if one is satisfied, you are coming under NFRA hit list. Paid up capital 500 crore. Turnover greater than or equal to 100 crore. Outstanding loans, debentures and deposits. In the balance sheet, you see the loans. Secured, unsecured, all the loans you take. Other than current liabilities, that's all. Other than current liabilities, loans. Current liabilities which are trade related cannot be taken. Other than that, you have to take loans, debentures and deposits. Greater than or equal to 500 crores. Such a company, it is sort of felt that there is an element of public interest. There is an impact. Therefore, NFRA power. I sincerely feel it's too low. They can increase it. Turnover 100 crore easily achieved. So many companies are achieving 100. With inflation, 100 crore is nothing. Anyway. Insurance companies, banking companies, companies engaged in the generation or supply of electricity, covered, no problem. Bodies corporate or companies referred by central government to NFRA in public interest. So here central government decides. Even though the limits are not there, the central government says there is an element of public interest here. Please check up. For example, somebody may be setting up a company for promoting cryptocurrency. And that company, there may be some complaints about that company's. It may not satisfy this condition. It may not be listed. Even then, the central government may ask NFRA to investigate. If they do useful things like that, it will be good. Whereas they will not do. They will allow these cryptocurrency wallahs to promote pseudo cryptocurrencies, which will be bogus. And then people will pay them. Our greedy public also will go and pay the money. Then one day these fellows will run away or the companies will fold. Then only the NFRA or CG will wake up. By then the horse has gone out of the stable. So many cryptocurrencies are being marketed today blindly without even understanding what it is. What is blockchain? They don't know nothing. Simply they'll say cryptocurrency, something frauds. There are a lot of fraud schemes going around. You have to be careful. Though, of course, that's why you'll notice I'm specifically not using the word Bitcoin or Ethereum because Bitcoin, Ethereum and all are specific cryptocurrencies which have blockchain behind them, which have, even there I'm not very comfortable. I'm not at all, even for 1 second, suggesting that these currencies are safe or that they are good, etc., etc. They are also equally, in my view, bad. But in addition to that, you have so many of these so-called pseudo cryptocurrencies, which are not cryptocurrency at all. Simply they give it a fancy name and then take money. That group has started. That group of frauds have entered this murky area of cryptocurrency, which is where public may not know the difference. Or Aam Aadmi doesn't know it. Therefore, we have to protect. Ultimately, this entire legal framework of this country, my dear friends, Companies Act, Competition Act, SEBI, meant to protect Aam Aadmi like me. Am I correct? Because I'm ignorant. I know nothing. The law has to protect me not after the event, but before the event, by giving me knowledge, by telling me. Disclosure. That is the secret. If you have disclosed, then you have no problem. Right? So I'm giving one example of how central government could select a company in public interest. Right? Similarly, bodies corporate registered outside India, which are subsidiary or associate of A to D. Okay? So, foreign subsidiary, and they are using the word bodies corporate. So, it may be a limited company or it may be a limited liability partnership, LLP, or whatever they call it in those countries. So, subsidiary or associate of A to D. A, B, C, D. I have not put D here, sorry, this is D. So, any of these companies may have a foreign subsidiary. You can, NFRA can exercise power on that subsidiary also or associate also, provided it satisfies some conditions. Let's see what they are. See, that body corporate registered outside India, okay, it should be a company or body corporate referred to in A to D we saw earlier. It should be a subsidiary or associate company of one of these A to D companies. First condition, unconnected body corporate, you cannot go. You should show the link. You should show that that body corporate is a subsidiary of this or an associate of this. Also, please understand the second condition, the income or net worth of such simultaneous. It should be a subsidiary or associate of A to D and income or net worth of such subsidiary or associate company exceeds 20% of the consolidated income or consolidated net worth of such company or the body corporate. Means ABC Limited is in India. It has a subsidiary XYZ Inc. Let's say in US. Now, can NFRA investigate that subsidiary? It can, provided ABC Limited comes under one of these four categories, A to D. Let us say that it is an unlisted company satisfying the criteria, one of the criteria. Chalo. Then NFRA should also ensure that when they consider that income or net worth, okay, either income or net worth, or so suppose the income, see again they use the word income, they don't use the word turnover, income. So you have to compute what is the income of that subsidiary, what is the total income of the consolidated group, that is holding plus subsidiary together consolidated net worth. In that consolidated net worth or consolidated income, that subsidiary's income or net worth should exceed 20%. So you have to calculate the consolidated income, consolidated net worth, then income of that subsidiary, net worth of that subsidiary. Either one of these should be more than 20% of the consolidated. Then and only then can NFRA exercise its powers. Okay. Yeah, some of you might have listened to me, but you might not have understood, right? So you will want me to repeat it. Anyway, if you want to, I will do it. Let us see some questions. We already have courts to clear disputes and provide for. It's a good question. In fact, my guru used to make this comment. Pooja's question, why should we have NFRA? No, it doesn't have the powers of court. Only these four powers are available. Okay. NFRA is a specialized body meant for only, monitoring the professions and laying down accounting standards. Yeah, it's a bigger story, Pooja. See, though you are saying courts and all, I don't know if you're an advocate. My son is an advocate. You go to the court and see how much cases are pending and whether the courts are even capable of handling the existing cases. That too only civil and criminal disputes. So, very specialized provisions like FEMA or SEBI or cyber law or, company law for that matter, income tax. Courts are simply not capable of handling. They don't have the specialization. So these are specialized judicial bodies. They are quasi-judicial bodies. Please wrap your brain around this, Pooja. They are not courts. But some powers of the court are given to them so that they can conduct the proceedings in a fair manner. Okay? That's all. So such a need is there. Nobody can deny the need for such bodies. Tribunal, ITAT. We need all these bodies. Because if it is not there, if you have to go to court for everything, it will be very costly. Very costly, time-consuming, etc. Whereas tribunal and other people provide quick relief, at least comparatively quick relief. Okay, I'm not questioning quasi-judicial bodies. They are good. They provide quick remedy, and they are a judicial remedy, and they have a check and balance on the atrocities of the executive. So that way, I'm happy. Except that there is a limitation, but within that limitation, they function well. Maybe you are right. I'm so sorry. Sometimes I make this mistake. Ayushji, thank you for correcting me. I will take your word for it, sir, and I will change it. See, this is a problem with typos. I will take your word for it, Ayush. I will not waste my time verifying. Yeah, Ayush Agarwal confirms that the material says 1,000. What could have happened now? While typing, I might have typed it wrongly. Thank you, Ayush, for correcting me. Not less than 1,000 crore. So, Ayush just confirmed that I have made the correction correctly in this slide. In B list, no, all conditions need not be satisfied. One of them. Okay, one of them. Only one of them. If I mentioned it, maybe you missed hearing. Only one of them is enough. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Jamil. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your nice comment, Mr. Nathani. And subsidiary income exceed of Madam. How, Memanji? Subsidiary income exceed consolidated. How is it possible, madam? You tell me, madam. Madam, you are hitting the logic, madam. Sorry. See, what is consolidated? A plus B. How A can be bigger than A plus B, you tell me. Seriously. Maman, come on. You are asking questions, but be careful. I hope I'm right. See, what is consolidated? A plus B is consolidated. There I am telling A should not be more than 20%. You are telling A should be more than 20%. You are telling A is greater than A plus B. Okay. It can be equal to. If B is 0, A plus B can be equal to that A. That is okay. But if B is even 1, then it cannot be more than. No? So, got my point, Meman? Just confirm. Ayushji, confirm that I made the right correction in my slide. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Okay. Is the provision can also be for subsidiary? It is for subsidiary of body. No. Body corporate outside India, you cannot even touch. See, remember the first condition is Someji is they should come under A to D. So they should come under A to D. To come under A to D, they should to come under A to D. It should be an Indian company. You foreign company, you cannot go and investigate. Yeah. There should be some. That is what the only way you can touch a body corporate incorporated outside India is by showing that it is a subsidiary or associate of A to D, and then go there. Okay. See, what is the meaning of taking them on oath? Oath is, see, what happens is I don't know if you've seen court scenes in the movies and serials and all. They will come and they'll put their hand on Bhagavad Gita and then say, whatever I'm saying is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. I swear that I'm telling, that is called oath. They will swear an oath first, that on God or on, if you're an atheist also, you can swear an oath on your own honor. And you can say, on my honor, I say, what I'm telling is the truth, the whole truth. And see, the point here is, if you're taken an oath, see, whenever the government department is conducting a investigation, they will take sworn statements. This is called oath. Sworn. You swear an oath, and then you say, I swear that what I'm saying is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Then it depends on how the oath is administered. The point of an oath is that the person confirms that he is telling only the truth. Tomorrow, if it is discovered, see, all that will be documented and he will sign it. That's called a sworn statement. That is what it means to take on oath. Under oath, he is telling it. That's why they'll warn him. Be careful. If you tell any lie here, tomorrow, that will amount to a criminal offense. It is called perjury. Perjury is telling a lie under oath. That too before a court of law or a quasi-judicial body. Perjury is an offense under, it's a separate law. Perjury law in India. It's part of the Criminal Procedure Code. It is a criminal offense. Okay? Minimum 2 years imprisonment for telling a lie under oath. Thank you, ISG, for telling that. Now moving on. So this I think is clear. 2 conditions have to be satisfied. So from Memon Rafiq Bhai's question, I am able to understand that you have understood the point. Okay, thank you, madam. Also, the NFRA has the job of recommending accounting standards and auditing standards. Okay. So the one concession given is the accounting standards. Obviously, the NFRA may not have the infrastructure to propose. See, how does an accounting standard or a standard of auditing, SA is standards of auditing, how does the accounting standard or a standard of auditing become, official? It goes through a long process. It is first proposed in draft. Discussions are there. Any member of the institute can comment about it. Any member, not only the ASB, the Accounting Standard Board, or the committee, everybody. Then all these comments are taken, then discussed, then if necessary, amendments are made, and then the institute makes it sort of available to members, one more review, final review, then it is published. It is binding on members. Once the institute publishes it and says this is an accounting standard, it is binding on you and me. But unless NFRA approves it, it will not be binding on the companies. See, this is the role that NFRA is going to play. Whereas, but the basic production, the basic creation of the standard has to happen only by us. Which is why, what is NFRA going to do? It's going to be a chop. They're going to put a chop. They're going to be one more classic bureaucracy sitting on top of the institute. Sir, nothing wrong. I'm all in favor of NFRA, but how much should they interfere is the question in our own, self-regulatory mechanism of the institute. This is a bigger question. You might want to read about it in Tax Guru or other forums. I'm sure more educated people than me, more intelligent people than me would have given their views either way on the whole thing. Do research on Tax Guru. Just put NFRA. I'm sure controversially also people would have said something. Have a look. NFRA may also seek additional information from the ICAI on the recommendations received. It's a continuous process, but everything is done in consultation with the ICAI. Okay, be careful. ICAI again can be misleading. Here, ICAI is the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, right? Because there is another ICAI, the Institute of Cost Accountants of India, unless they've changed their name to ICMAI, Institute of Cost and Management Accountants of India. I don't know if they've done that. I'm seriously not bothered also. Okay. Punishment for non-compliance. If any company or any officer of a company or an auditor or any other person contravenes any of the provisions of NFRA rules, the company and every officer of the company who is in default or the auditor or such other person shall be punished or punishable under the provisions of section 450 of the Act. Friends, usually you will find the section itself provides the penalty. The section itself provides the penalty. Here they are referring you to another section, right? Similar to 445 and all. Fraud. We saw that now. Similarly, 450. See, 450 is a section not in your syllabus. Section 450, just for your information, 450 provides for a penalty where no specific penalty or punishment is provided. Suppose the Companies Act has some condition, something you have to do or not to do. Okay, invariably every section of the Companies Act will say you have to do, you should not do, like that. Am I correct? That is why I always used to compare the Companies Act with my wife, right? Because 1956 Act was very big, so it was pretty bulky. Okay, that is one comparison. Secondly, and more importantly, the Companies Act, every section will say do this, don't do this, like that. Okay, and warn you also, if you do this, this is what will happen, which is what my wife constantly keeps doing. Do this, don't do this. So, and thirdly, I love the law and I love my wife. Okay, so that is the way I always say this Companies Act is like my wife. Okay, the point is every section says do this, don't do this. If you don't do this, will be the punishment. Huh? But sometimes they might miss out. They might forget to prescribe a penalty. Then they say, even if you have not specified penalty in that section, this 450 ka penalty will apply. So be careful. Don't ever ask that question. Sir, this section, they're asking us to file this form. But if you don't file, what will happen? If I default, what will happen? Straight away come to 450. That punishment will apply to you. Where no specific penalty has been provided, then 450 will apply. The penalty, it's a common penalty. In case of any default where no penalty or fine is prescribed in that section or in that chapter, then this will apply. The company and every officer shall pay a fine of up to 10,000 rupees. And where it's a continuing contravention, further fine of 1,000 rupees for every day after the first, during which the contravention continues. Right? So this is the... I'm so happy that you are keeping track of the name change of the Institute of Cost and Works Accountants of India. I've stopped doing it. Whenever I meet a gentleman or lady who's a member of that institute, I ask them, what is the name of your institute now? Thank you. That's all. At that time, I will ask. Because I don't know, every day they keep changing the name. How will government get to know about it? Of they ask. Madam, can you elaborate about what the government will come to know? If they ask, how will government? What do you mean by that? Not clear. Question not clear, Kusumlata ji. Little more elaboration. Now, these are procedural sections in the rules. NFRA will meet. See, it's a body. It will meet. It's a very, very important meeting when they will transact the businesses, take up approving of accounting standards, taking action against the erring chartered accountants, all that they will do. They will have a secretary, okay, and other employees. There will be an administrative infrastructure, a secretariat, etc., etc. The head office shall be at New Delhi, but then, of course, they will have an important office in Mumbai. They may have regional offices, etc., etc. This is all empowering. They should maintain accounts as prescribed by CAG. See, NFRA will have a budget allocation. Under the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, NFRA will have a budget allocation. Earlier, the Ministry of Law and Justice was an expense ministry. They were not income. They were not revenue. They were not earning any revenue. But now, with all these penalties and with all these fines mounting up, and companies paying through their nose, suddenly the Ministry of Corporate Affairs is actually a revenue generator. Okay, so they will have a budget for NFRA. That NFRA budget is spent now. For that, they have to maintain accounts. Believe me, government accounts have to be maintained very strictly because, see, when you and I spend something, when I'm auditing a private company, let us say that the board of directors has conducted a campaign for promotion, a product promotion campaign. See, as an auditor, I will be verifying whether the product actually was launched, whether there was a product promotion, whether the expenses claimed for the product promotion are genuine, whether they are supported by bills, at best where I can go a little bit ahead, I can go and ask whether the quotations were received, whether the lowest possible price was determined. Even there I'm skating on thin ice, but I can go there and ask, and I can question the process by which you arrived at the, whom to hire, which agency to hire. If the process is not there, I can say the process is not there, but I cannot touch the true and fair view of the accounts. Whereas for government companies and government departments, there should be proprietary justification also. Whether this action you are taking, this expenditure itself is needed or not. See, the C&AG can question that. Understand the slight difference. As an auditor, I cannot question the decision of the board. I cannot say you should not have gone for this product promotion. I can't do that. They are running the company. Their shareholders have appointed them. I can only tell the shareholders, boss, these guys have launched the product. That was not really launched. They are fraud. Or I can maximum say, when they launched this, they spent money. For that, they have not taken tender. They have not taken the lowest quotation. They have appointed people without verifying. The rates are, even there I'm skating on thin ice because the board can always reply to the shareholders saying, boss, what does he know about business? Is he running a company? I know what I'm doing. The shareholders are happy, I have to chup. So my power as an auditor goes up to only verifying whether the transaction actually happened or not, and whether the documentation is correct. Maximum I can ask about purchase process. Maximum. I'm not trying to say the role of an auditor is less. Even within this framework, our duty is huge. We have to verify and we have to ensure that things are in order and all that. But for a government company, you can go one ahead. You can even question the expense itself. Okay, as to whether. At best, what I can talk about, whether any personal expenses are debited to profit and loss account. This is one question I can ask them. Because I have to ask, and if it's there, I have to report. Okay. Anyway, so just giving all this background information just to share some. See, they are all interconnected topic, my dear friends. Don't study accounting separately, auditing separately, company law separately, silo. No, they are all interconnected topics. When you become a member of an institute, you would not be, sir, accounting I know, sir, auditing I know. You can't say that. You are expected to know everything and connect up everything. Okay? This is my suggestion to you as a member of the institute with more than 3 decades of practice experience. I'm suggesting this to you. Please, people like Swati should not get angry with this, but it may sound useless. But believe me, 30 years down the line, I'll assure you, you will understand what I'm saying is whether useful or not. Because subjects have to be understood from the common perspective. When I'm talking accounting, I cannot not think about auditing. When I'm thinking auditing, I cannot not think about income tax. Like that. Okay. Though, you know, two separate groups are there, blah, blah, I don't know which comes where and all that. Doesn't mean that because there are two groups, doesn't mean that they are not connected with each other. All are connected with each other. So, now the accounts of the NFRA cannot be audited by you and me. Because we can't ask that question, right? Whether it was needed at all question cannot be asked by us. It can be asked only by the Controller and Auditor General of India, who is the auditor of the government. The Controller and Auditor General of India is a public body, just like the Election Commissioner, right? He is appointed by the President and he is independent body, C&AG. He will question, which means he to an extent, he can question the executive. He is within the framework, but he can question the executive. If a government ministry there's some issue there, is the C&AG who has to expose it and who has to report it to the President and report it to the Parliament and bring it. That is the role of the C&AG. So he is the auditor of the government. So the C&AG will conduct the audit of the NFRA accounts and the audited accounts. Maybe when you studied IEPF, Investor Education and Protection Fund, as part of dividend topic, there again you will have noticed that the IEPF will be audited by the C&AG. Same, similar provision you would have studied when you studied dividend in Investor Education and Protection Fund. That is also a public fund audited by the C&AG. In fact, that is one good career for a chartered accountant. If you are very keen on government service, a chartered accountant can get into C&AG. This would be one route to become chairman of or chairperson of NFRA, finally. Okay. So the audited accounts together with the audit report thereon shall be forwarded annually by the NFRA to the central government, right? And the NFRA shall prepare in such form and at such time for each financial year an annual report. This will also be forwarded to the central government. Central government here is the ministry. Now, the said report together with the audited accounts of NFRA and the CAG's audit report shall be placed by the central government. That is the ministry. See, this ministry now has to place, just like a company has a duty to prepare accounts, get it audited and file it with the registrar, MCA, the NFRA has to prepare accounts, get it audited by the C&AG, and then the central government, the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, should file this report with the audited accounts with both the houses of Parliament. Friends, once it comes before both the houses of Parliament, it is a public document. It is covered by the Right to Information Act. It is available in the Gazette. You can go and see it. Everybody can verify the audit report of the NFRA. Okay? Because what is Parliament? There's nothing secret about Parliament. Parliament is the representatives of the people, you and I. Nothing happening in Parliament can be a secret. They cannot say this is parliamentary affairs. Individual citizen cannot know. Anything happens in Parliament, you and I, that is why they send you a telecast of the Parliament proceedings. There's a separate channel. You can go on, very boring. Don't even go there. But point is, anything that happens in the well of Parliament is public information. You and I are entitled to comment about it as citizens of this country. Okay. I mean, this is what happens in a true democracy, but then we have sedition law also in this country, so be careful. Right. Now we have finished NFRA. Actually, today's topic is fairly simple. The only main topic still left for us is CSR, Corporate Social Responsibility, which we'll be seeing. Yeah, well, let me finish this. So, as you know, the central government prescribes the accounting standards, 133. See, central government right now has the power. Once the NFRA is constituted, which they have, then it will be recommended by the NFRA. The recommendation by ICAI, and then the recommendation will be examined by NFRA. Then, as I told you, NFRA will put a chop, and then CG will prescribe. Okay? So, NFRA comes in as a bureaucratic block. That's my humble view. But then it's also I don't know, it's a chop. And then the chop, it will go to the CG. Now, if NFRA is not constituted, they are giving, because the act was passed, at the time NFRA was not there. So then the recommendation by ICAI, and then there was at that time NACAS, National Advisory Committee on Accounting Standard, NACAS. So NACAS will recommend. So it was not as if there was no NFRA. Okay, there was always a body, a recommendatory body, because CG consists of bureaucrats who may not understand accounting. See, you can have a medical counsel, in that a bureaucrat may be sitting. Unless he's a doctor, he cannot understand what is happening. Seriously. So the think about it and then you will understand. Medical counsel cannot have a non-doctor sitting there. If there is a non-doctor sitting there, he has to be informed by doctors only. He has to take the advice of qualified medical professional. Similarly, NFRA or CG has to take the support of qualified accounting professionals, which is only today, as of today, only one body, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. Okay. Right. Let me see if any questions are there. Then I will get into CSR. Clients ask that if they will not comply with rules, then how will they get to know? Madam, this is a very, very practical question you are asking. Okay, how will the government go down? If it's, see, there again, materiality issue will be there. So if it is not very big, then they may never get found out. If that's something great. But if it is material, then it will come out in some other report and all. MCA will do a scrutiny of the accounts. I don't know if you're aware. But that will be there only for high value. Small value, it won't be there. But this question takes me to an important point, Kusum Lataji. Even if the clients ask that you and I as members of the institute, me as a member today and you as a future member, have to examine our own conscience. The real question I will ask you is, and this is, I know it's not at all a relevant topic for students, that too when I'm teaching company law, but as a senior member of the profession, addressing potential members, let me make this very clear. That the minute a client has the guts to ask me this question, what will happen if, how will the government find out? The real choice is not whether to sign that balance sheet or not, but whether to have that gentleman as my client. Okay. Such choices will, immediately some of you will think or argue, then how will I get clients? If I do fraud only, I can be an auditor. That is the wrong attitude. There are so many genuine businesses in this country who are willing to comply. Believe me, you can get it. Believe me, you can be an auditor for such companies. One of few criminals, don't make them the example for all businessmen. And those criminals, you and I as chartered accountants have to educate them. You have to inform them. You will be found out today, tomorrow, like that. There are many ways of being found out. See, Income Tax Act, easily they'll be found out. Many people think they can have one bank account which they will not disclose to the auditor. Small example I'm giving you. Silly people. We keep on warning them. Every July, these assets come to the office. I tell them, if you whatever bank accounts you have, please submit it to my people. Please give all the bank accounts. They won't give. Then recently what happened? The government did a huge scan of PAN number. And they got so many new bank accounts and which have not been disclosed in the ID return. Then they started sending notices. Then these clients will come, Mr. Shrikant, you know what it is? What? Tell. No, one bank account. So that bank account I didn't tell you. Why? I told you to inform me all your bank accounts. Now what are you going to do? What you have done is called concealment. See, always be strict with your clients. Don't ever. See, the minute you agree to do what he wants, you become a slave. Okay? And one of the important hallmarks of our profession is independence. And that is it's a choice, it's a hard choice not to take such fellows as either we advise them, even if nobody finds out, this is how the accounts are to be presented. This is the rule. Please comply with it. That is what you see. Even if the government doesn't find out, you as an auditor have found out now. Now you are also an important person. They can't tell you ignore it. If you ignore it, then you are in trouble. Okay. Be very, very careful. And I'll assure you 3 decades of practice, 35 years of qualification and practice and reasonably successful, fairly successful. There is no need to support a criminal. There is no need. There are so many good people, good businesses who only want good advice, who want compliance. They want to comply. Help them to comply rather than worry about these criminals who will be constantly thinking and they will finally be destroyed. No, nobody who was unethical has survived for long, and nobody who is ethical has never lost. They ultimately become successful, and I can give you 60% of ethical companies are highly successful, and these will be your clients, and you will have no problem in maintaining your professional integrity. Of course, This is some, I'm wasting your time, but I think it's an important comment I have to give. So because you heard it for the first time, a senior member of the institute very clearly informing you, whatever you see, I don't care. What you should do is honorable. Okay, even if somebody is doing it, sir, that's not my problem, sir. I will be honorable, sir. That's all. Unto thine own self be true. Unto thine own self be true, and it shall follow as the night, the day. Hamlet, Shakespeare in Hamlet, unto thine own self be true, and it shall follow as the night, the day. Once the night comes, morning you will wake up now, the day will come now. So naturally, if you are true to your own conscience, everything will come correctly in the long run. And I know this is a very, very ethical lecture I'm giving you, but I think you need to listen to senior member once in a while. In my classes, I used to do this. Sir, clearing the exam, don't worry. But unethically behaving, what is the point? Okay. Never will a member of my institute encourage that. Never will we allow you to become unethical. Right? Good. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share this thought with you. So that is the answer to you, Kusum Lataji. The CAG in the first point in page 78 stands for controller. Yeah, controller and auditor. Maybe I spelled it as controller. Okay, a controller. That's a fair old British English spelling. Controller and Auditor General of India. Who appoints CAG? Government. The government, the ministry. Actually, they are appointed by the President of India. There is a service. Just like you have Indian Administrative Service, you have the Indian Auditing and Accounting and Auditing Service, IA and AS. You have to write that exam, and once you clear that, you will be appointed as a civil servant. You will become a civil servant. Then the C&AG will in turn appoint all the appointment of the C&AG is done like IAS officers. They will become a IA and AS. They are also, see, all of them will write the civil services. Then based on the ranking, you will become IA and AS. Sometimes they opt to go into IA and AS also. Kushbu Pandey, you might suspect many things. I don't know what you are suspecting. As a citizen of this country, you have every right to suspect the government. All of us have the right to suspect every government. It's a democratic country. I totally agree with you. Continue to suspect, and which is why the press is there. See? So there are so many protections available to us. One is, of course, the executive. They are the first level of protection. Police, all that. But if they don't protect, then the courts will protect us. Okay? Then the C&AG is a protection for us. Finally, if nothing is there, the press is our only protection. The journalist who puts his life at stake to report on anything. So this is the framework on which a good democracy works, right? Let's hope that we will continue to be one of the most vibrant democracies in the whole world. So if CAG is appointed by President from NFRA, days limit is not clear. Can you please? What is it? 1 day's limit. Madam, your question again is not clear. Forget. 1 day's limit is not clear. What is that? Can you elaborate it? Okay. In the meantime, without much ado, let me get into the next interesting and important area: corporate social responsibility, popularly known as CSR. CSR. My view on CSR, or my view on companies spending money on charity, is slightly radical. I am not a liberal. Okay. I am a free market capitalist. An extent, I would be a conservative right-winger in America. If I'm in US, I'll be a right-winger conservative. In UK, I'll be a conservative Tory. Why? Because I feel business has no need or purpose to use. You can't take the shareholders' money and do charity. Got my point? If the managing director wants to do charity, let him take salary, pay tax, and out of that, let him do charity. Yeah? See, this is my view. Why? Because you want to do charity, Baba, do it, not at the shareholders' cost. You are entitled to certain salary, right? Under the provisions of the Act. You take that, fully you take it. You are entitled to 2% of the profit, 5%, 10% of the profit. Take it. And out of that money that you have taken out, you may do charity. This is my view. The purpose of a business is to make money. This is my view. Okay, I still hold it. But slightly we have revised it. What do you say? Companies must make profits. In fact, sometimes promoters come to me and say, Mr. Srikanth, I am not interested in money. I am going to run this company only for charity purpose. I said, then form a Section 8 company. Take donation. You can't run it commercially. If you're going to run a commercial company, your goal is to make profit and enhance the wealth of the shareholders. That's all. You have any other goal, and seriously, that cannot be a goal. You understand? CSR can never be a goal. But companies must make profits and maximize shareholder wealth, no doubt about it. But this is not to say that that is their only goal, right? That cannot be the goal. In addition to that, ancillary, you understand? In addition to that, they owe a duty to serve the communities and society within which they exist, function, and derive the sustenance for their growth. If they fail to fulfill this duty, they will be no more than a cancer that destroys the very thing on which it feeds. Okay? These are the words from my own book. In those days, I had contributed a couple of chapters in my guru's book on law, ethics, and communication. My guru wrote a book for the intermediate, then syllabus, when he told me to write the chapters on accounts, audit, dividend, and ethics. And I wrote it. After he went through it and he made corrections. This is the paragraph I put in that book. So I'm not against CSR, but I'm saying that cannot be your goal. Yeah. If some people come and say, Mr. Srikanth, boss, if you think you are a sannyasi, please go. Don't come. Then why are you coming and running this business? So you have some motive here now. That is profit. Okay. Now, so out of the profits that we have made, a small portion we can give back to the society, especially to those people who live in and around our area, where the company's factory is situated or where the company's main activities are carried on. This is CSR. Some portion of giving back. Now, even before the concept of CSR was made mandatory, even before business and ethics became part of the UG syllabus in many universities, before all that, in 1800s, before independence, a great man called Jamsetji Tata, okay, he decided, Nuzarwanji Tata and Jamsetji Tata, they decided that they have a duty to the society, and the Tata group keeps on giving back. In fact, Jamsetji Tata went on, Nuzarwanji Tata went on to build a city, which was then named Jamshedpur, okay, also known as Tata Nagar, nearby. I think now it is, I think it's not, originally it was, I think, Bihar, but I don't know where, Jharkhand, now it will come under Jharkhand, I think. I'm sure if anybody is listening from Tata Nagar or Jamshedpur, they can correct me, okay. All I'm trying to say is, it is not as if CSR was not recognized by corporates. It was always there. But as usual, the ministry wants to make it mandatory. Okay. So CSR is a conceptual framework that analyzes the various ways in which the corporate community can pay back or return to society a portion of the profits they derive from it. This usually takes the form of social welfare and other measures, say especially infrastructural. So you can build schools, hospitals, give them medical support, okay, education. These are good CSR ideas. This usually takes the form of social welfare, etc. The benefits from such CSR measures would accrue to the public at large and not necessarily to those who depend on the company. See, your employee welfare cannot become CSR. You might have a quarters where, employees are there. They are working in the factory. You may do a lot of good for those employees. That's part of employee welfare. So one criteria is the benefits of the CSR should not only go to the employees or people who depend on the company, but also the public at large, right? If rightly applied, CSR can be an engine driving the economic and social upliftment of society. I'm not against CSR, don't get me wrong, but I'm saying CSR is not the main goal. No. doing good to society is not the goal of a company. That is, we got ministry, we got NGOs, but if you want to support them, you can. How? By providing a small portion of your profits to fund the non-governmental organizations and the other people to do. They are specialized in this and they know how to do it. Many large companies have separate department for CSR. Why? Because the amount of CSR they have to spend mandatorily is huge. Mandatorily. Some of them have their own, shall we say, personal voluntary contributions also, more than what the government has prescribed, right? Other companies are there who don't want to do. They are also no forced to do it. See, CSR should be voluntary, right? Should be voluntary. But as usual, our great government decided that it should become mandatory. So today, mandatory. They have prescribed that you have every company which satisfies the criteria should contribute to CSR. So this is contained in section 135 and there's an elaborate set of CSR rules are there. I have tried to sort of summarize it for you. Every company, including its holding or subsidiary, and a foreign company having its branch office or project office in India, which fulfills the criteria of section 135, shall comply with the provisions of section 135. The shall is very important. Once you fulfill the criteria, you have to contribute to CSR, mandatory. Now, you will find that, as usual, the criteria is linked to turnover and net worth. I'm sorry, a net worth, turnover, or net profit. Now, for a foreign company, how do I determine? It will be based on the balance sheet and P&L account prepared in accordance with the provisions of 381 and 198. See, 198 is very important. Managerial remuneration. I told you now, under 198 only, it's not in your syllabus. Under 198, you decide what is the remuneration payable to the managerial personnel. Okay. And so 381 also. When you come to final, you will study that. Whatever it is, if it's a foreign company, you have to recast the income statement, balance sheet and P&L in accordance with Companies Act. And that profit you should use for the purpose of determining the compulsory CSR. Now, what is CSR? Quickly, okay, without boring you, because you can read it on your own. It is there in the Institute material. Quickly, the Act, the company, the Ministry of Corporate Affairs has prescribed two things. One, activities which are CSR, Schedule 7. Activities which are not considered to be CSR. Very important. Activities which are not considered to be CSR, very important. Any activity undertaken in pursuance of normal course of business of the company. That's why any employee welfare scheme. If you're going to claim it as staff welfare in the P&L account, then if you're going to claim it as a reduction in the Income Tax Act, which is why what they have done now, the Income Tax Act, any amount contributed for CSR is not allowed as a deduction. According to me, wrong. I'll give my argument later. For those of you who are smart enough to understand, I will give my argument as to why you can actually claim and also go up to Supreme Court and win the case. That even though, that is why what they have done, they have very specifically exempted. They said any amount spent on CSR not allowable under the Income Tax Act. And the Companies Act also they have provided. I don't know why, where the Companies Act gets the right to decide what I can claim and what I cannot claim. Anyway, according to me, that can be tested. The constitutional validity can be tested of that provision. Because, see, your 37 gives me any amount incurred wholly and exclusively for the purpose of the business. 37 says any expense incurred wholly and exclusively for the purpose of the business. Right. Now, normally I would not have spent CSR, Baba. I am a hard-nosed businessman. I don't want to spend a pie. That is my choice. Okay. I am not a good man. I am a villain. That's okay. But there is no compulsion why I will spend. But what now you are telling? If you come in this criteria, you shall spend 2%. You will see that later. Compulsory. No, once you make it compulsory, I am complying with the law. If I do not spend the 2%, I am violating the law. So, when I am spending something to comply with the law, is it not wholly and exclusively for the purpose of my business? I mean, I know it's a little confusing, but then they have specifically said it's not applicable. You cannot claim. But I'm saying it can be questioned. This very provision itself can be questioned, because who are you to say? You have made it compulsory. Then in compliance with the law, I'm doing it. Now I cannot also claim it as an expenditure. Then what are you trying to do here? So this is my view again, and not relevant for the company law purpose. But then see how it's linked. Company law and income tax are linked. Okay, you cannot say I will study blindfolded. Sir, don't talk about company. When you are teaching company law, Mr. Srikanth, don't talk income tax, sir. When income tax professor is there, he is an expert in income tax. He will talk about it. Agreed. Definitely, there's an expert in income tax going to teach you tax. But unfortunately, I'm also practicing chartered accountant. Okay, I practice income tax, right? Chalo. Now, activities undertaken in normal course of business of the company, you cannot claim. Anything that you normally spend for the welfare of the employees, etc., not. Provided that one exemption they are giving for that rule, which is any company engaged in R&D activity of new vaccine, drugs and medical devices in their normal course of business may undertake R&D activity of new vaccine, drugs and medical devices related to COVID-19. But that R&D itself should be carried out in collaboration with the institute or organization mentioned in item 9 of schedule 7. See, schedule 7 gives list of activities which are considered to be CSR. So there they talk about certain institutes or organizations which are allowed. Contribution to them is allowed. So any research and development in COVID vaccine should be in consultation with them, collaboration with such institutes. And details of such activity will be disclosed in the annual report. You remember in the board's report, very specifically one clause was, specifically you should mention what CSR activities you have done. Under that case, you have to bring this. Again, you see COVID-19, that's a knee-jerk reaction for COVID-19. No company is going to only some pharma companies are doing. Tell me one thing, why I will bring it under CSR? Yeah? Because if I say it is CSR, then you are not going to allow it as an expense. Whereas if I take it in R&D, I can get benefit under the Income Tax Act. Seriously, you know what these jokers are trying to do. But suppose a company is there which is it's not spent on CSR, they want to book the 2% thing, then they can try. Otherwise, I don't see a benefit here. Because let us say I'm doing some research and development, why I will bring it under CSR? I would rather claim it as an expense and go. Why? Seriously. Logically. See, here I am not thinking only as your teacher. I'm thinking as a chartered accountant consultant to an organization. If they consult me on this, this is how I will give my reply. Okay. Anyway, so COVID itself is gone. Yeah, pandemic is gone. It's all old story now. Let's not even bother about it. Yeah, it is there. Protect yourself, maintain social distance, blah. But then don't stop living your life. Okay, just because of this. That's my view. Right from March 24, 2020, I have been doing this. Okay, only people who are afraid are weak. Only their immunity is low. People who are strong, their immunity is strong. So the inner strength is more important. Of course, you have to protect yourself. But if you don't have the inner strength, in spite of protecting, people get out because their inner strength is not there. You have to build that inner strength through yoga, through pranayama. You should build it, or more than that, the inner strength should be there within you. Once that inner strength is there, anything can be protected. There is no need for you to worry. Health is not external. Health is internal. Your body should be kept tuned and you are ready for anything. Again, a suggestion. Okay. Any activity undertaken by the company outside India, not CSR. Please remember this, not CSR things here. Exam point of view important. So normal course of business, not CSR, except COVID, blah, blah. With the collaboration with the recognized institute, disclosure in the annual report. Anything done outside India, not. Except training of Indian sports personnel representing a state or union territory at national or international level. So one of the CSR activities that you could do is to promote sports. Excellent. So there might be a child from an economically backward background who is too good in tennis. Now, your company could sponsor that girl and help her to train for the international championship. For that, she has to be trained in France. Agreed. We will fund you. Go to France and get trained. allowed, though this particular activity is happening outside India, exception, because we are training an Indian sports person representing, say, Chhattisgarh at the international level or even national level training. We can make them go to a foreign country. That's the only exception. Other than that, you cannot say, be careful. You will be tempted to go to Sri Lanka and do some work there. Sri Lankans, all Tamils in Sri Lanka are suffering. I want to go and do, but that will not be considered to be CSR, right? And it will not be business expense also. So take it up, okay? Anyway, contribution of any amount direct. In fact, see, you can't use a NGO route also, because suppose an NGO, a non-governmental organization or a non-profit organization is, or rather say not-for-profit organization, is registered in India under the Income Tax Act, they cannot carry on any activity outside India. So they cannot take the donation here and then do the service in Sri Lanka. Not possible. Okay? Be careful. That's what I'm saying. Law is not so easy as we think it is. They put everywhere. Anyway, contribution of any amount directly or indirectly to any political party under section 182. Okay? Political party. But political party donations come under a different category. There's a separate section in the Act. Any amount you can contribute to political party. You will read this nonsense when you come to final syllabus. I will, inshallah, if I am teaching you, I will come and teach you. Political party, any amount. There is no limit you can give. Whereas there is a limit for charitable contribution, there is no limit for contribution to political party, allowed as a deduction under the Income Tax Act. What a fantastic country. Anyway, but it won't be considered as CSR. It will not be considered as CSR. Okay. Activities benefiting employees of the company as defined in the Workmen's Code on Wages 2019. So employees defined in this code, if you are doing some benefit, for example, we are providing masks for all our employees in view of COVID pandemic. Please provide, but it is not CSR. Okay, it is not CSR. Activities supported by the companies on sponsorship basis. Suppose you have a campaign for COVID vaccination only for your employees. Sorry, not covered. It's not CSR because it is only benefiting your employees. But suppose you are having an open campaign in the village or in the local area. Okay, there anybody can come and take a free jab and go. One or two of your employees come, no problem. But you hold it in your company premises only for employees, restricted. Sorry, you cannot try to claim that as CSR. Activities supported by the companies on sponsorship basis for deriving marketing benefits for its products or services. So I am giving an advertisement. Even if it is a public related advertisement, for example, maintain, Swachh Bharat, blah, blah, whatever advertisement they give. Finally, you're putting your company's name now and you're deriving marketing benefits, then gone. It cannot be claimed as CSR. Activities carried out for fulfillment of any other statutory obligation under any law in force. See, this is where they are getting into trouble. Here they are saying these activities are not to be considered to be CSR. What they are saying is, if it is for any statutory obligation, you cannot claim it as CSR. So they are very clear. If you want to claim it as CSR, not allowed under Income Tax Act. If you say it is a statutory obligation, then it is not CSR. You may get income tax deduction, but it is not CSR. They want to put a barrier there. Now, we have seen activities which are not to be considered as CSR, right? Now, yeah, Jharkhand. Thank you, Pushpaji. Applicability of CSR, I will come to it a little later. Don't hurry, Mr. Hiteshji. Don't hurry me. I have not yet come there. I will come. Pooja, I can't explain NFRA again. My suggestion, you go through the video and then the notes that I will share with you. Then if you have any specific doubt, send it to the institute or put it up in this query pad. I will answer it. But I don't understand form NFRA 1. I have not taught NFRA 1. I'm not going to teach also. I don't know what it means. Please, and its following point is not clear. Could you please help? If you have a specific doubt, send it to the institute. They will send it to me. I will clarify. Specific doubt. Okay, don't mistake me. Time is not there. I would love to explain to you, but not now. Because vaguely, it's very vague. If I start going back, I'll be wasting time. Okay, specific doubt. What is your specific doubt? I will answer that specific doubt. Form NFRA 1, I am not teaching at all. I have not taught. Okay. So if you have a specific doubt, please ask me. I would love to help you to understand it, but not now. Applicability of CSR, we'll see it in a very short way. In my opinion, those who have the ability to they should do it. Not all have such ability. Absolutely correct. Pooja, I'm with you on this. I'm not against mandatory CSR. Okay. The government wants to bring mandatory CSR, let them do it. Let them bring it. No problem. But see, that's why I'm giving example of Tata Group. In South India, we have TI Group. They are all doing CSR even without mandatory. Ashok Leyland, they are doing CSR even without mandating. See, today we have another condition called ESG, environment and all that, sustainability. So, for the point here is, somewhere, as you rightly say, unless they make it mandatory, they won't do. So I'm not against mandatory. Okay, I'm not against mandatory. I am only again and again saying the board of directors of a company cannot have altruistic goals. They cannot be do-gooders. Sorry. They should be hardcore businessmen who are capable of earning a profit. Only such people are capable of becoming businessmen. If your goal is to serve society, please don't come into business. That is all I'm trying to say. If you want to serve society, if you want to do karma yoga, please go. Or else do karma yoga here. Earn profit for the company and don't take a pie of it. Be like, Modi ji or Adityanath ji, who are totally engaged in public affairs, not getting any benefit out of it. That way you can be. So you can't say, I will take benefit, I want to do good to society. Both cannot be done at the same time. Okay. Yeah, you should read. See, there are nice Amar Chitra Katha volumes of Jamshedji Data and very beautiful. You should read those small comics. You learn a lot about the Tata Group and how they developed. I really enjoyed reading them. While I was on a flight, I was just bored. I saw it on Kindle, I downloaded it and I read it. It's excellent and I really enjoyed it. Check it out. How much they have felt that they should give back to society. I'm not against that. Please, if I have given that impression, sorry, I do a lot of CSR myself. All I'm saying is, don't take shareholders' money to do charity. That's why there's a restriction. Okay? Because this money belongs to shareholder. Who are you to do charity with that? So for fulfilling CSR network, Hitesh, you are jumping the gun. Have I taught that point? When I come to that point, I will teach you. I'll come again and you are shocked? No, I'm equally shocked that it's not. Don't use the word exempted. Please use the word not allowed as a deduction against the profits or gains from business or profession. Exemptions are different. They come in section 10. Okay. So this is deduction. I am spending that money out of profit now, but not allowed as a deduction against the profit. Sorry. Welcome to the crazy world of the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. Madam, form NFRA 1, if you have any doubt, kindly raise it offline. I will answer it. Okay, not very important. If you have a doubt, please raise it offline. Just send it to the institute mail ID or whatever. They will forward it to me and I will answer it. Is it necessary to write section in paper? No need, sir. No need, right? I will tell you more about it later. How to write section, I will tell. If you can remember it, write it. Otherwise, no need. You will not lose marks because you have not written section number, provided your answer is correct. Why these CSR? They are not CSR, Baba. They are not CSR. Hello, these are not. Okay, these activities are not considered to be CSR. Not. Okay, not considered to be CSR. They are not. Which specifically because the company is deriving benefit. Okay. There is no statutory obligation, no exemption, no marketing also. How the company will do already, that's what they're giving you a lot of activities which you can do voluntarily. It's necessary to by heart. By heart. You mean heart, H-E-R-T. No need, sir. You can use your own language also. So long as it's a simple language, so long as you are see, you should not go wrong. See, for example, Pooja has said exemption. You got it? Exemption. Okay. Whereas CSR should be a deduction. There's a slight difference between exemption and deduction. 37 in the Income Tax Act is deduction. Whereas 37, 32 are all deductions. Whereas the 10 family is exemption. Exemption means it doesn't get into the totaling itself. It doesn't get into the income column itself. Whereas deduction is the gross is included and these are all allowed as deductions. Right? So CSR should be a deduction. Small wordings. See, very puristic examiner like me, a donkey like me sitting there puristically watching for language, you might be in trouble. So which is why try to learn the correct language and use simple English. No need to by heart. Don't mug up. But naturally try to remember is what I would. That is the best way to remember. Okay, enough is enough. We have come to 8:31. I'm going to give a small break for 10 minutes. So 10 minutes ka break for you to recover and come back from the bombarding that I've given you today so that we can continue with CSR and Ajto we'll try to finish the topic. Right? Sir, break. Welcome back from your break. See, these activities specified under Schedule 7, I'm not going to cover it in detail. It's there. Okay, they won't ask you in the exam. Institute exam, they won't ask you to mug up and vomit all this. Just for your information, eradicating hunger, poverty, malnutrition, promoting education, promoting gender equality. See, you should need not know this by heart. Okay, just you should know what is all there broadly: environmental sustainability, ecological balance, animal welfare. In fact, one particular client of mine, a listed company, they were very much into Goshala. So they were running a public Goshala where aged cows were being taken care of and all. And that's one of their core value systems of the family, of that founder family. Okay, but they were hardcore businessmen making good money. That's not the point. Point here is they out of their own hard-earned money, they were having a Goshala. But since the CSR compulsory thing came, they called me and consulted me. They said, Mr. Srikanth, can we run a Goshala as part of our CSR for the company? I said, yes, you can, because animal welfare is covered, agroforestry is covered. So why not animal welfare, protection of flora and fauna? Flora means trees, plants, etc. Fauna means animals. Animal, not necessarily wild animal. Fauna could be even, though normally when we visit Kaziranga, we say flora and fauna, we mean the wild animal, the one-horned rhinoceros and all. But it could include domestic animals also, like cows. So, and animal welfare is anywhere there. So, I said, yes, you can. And I gave them the opinion also. See, it is that level that you should understand. When they ask you, you should be able to tell. The typical question would be, does it come under CSR or not? Right? Protection of national heritage, art and culture, restoration of buildings, sites of historical importance and works of art. As nothing wrong. Though setting up public libraries, promotion and development of traditional arts, nothing wrong. See, don't think CSR means only helping poor people, eradicating hunger. Not necessarily. One of the main, but then even national heritage, art and culture are also CSR, right? Measures for the benefit of armed forces, veterans, war widows. Why not? If you want to do that. Training to promote rural sports, nationally recognized sports, Paralympic sports, Olympic sports, etc., etc. Contribution, of course, to the Prime Minister's National Relief Fund or Prime Minister's Citizens Assistance and Relief in Emergency Situation Fund. As usual, PM Cares Fund. Our PM likes acronyms. He likes to create beautiful acronyms, right? Contribution or funds providing to technology incubators and certain specified educational institutions. Do you remember? Only to these educational institutions you can give. Okay. Rural development projects, slum area development. Okay. Of course, if you are a property developer and you are destroying the slum, that's not a slum area development, not a CSR. Sorry. Disaster management, including relief, rehabilitation, and reconstruction. Okay. One thing that never fails to surprise me is, see, the Yaksha, in the Mahabharata, there is something called Yaksha Prashna, where the Yaksha asks Yudhishthir one question. He says, what according to is the very, very funny thing? What makes you laugh? He says, people know that they will die. People know that they will die, but they live as if they are going to be immortal. They think they are immortal. They know they will die, but they think as if they are immortal and they live. This is the most funniest thing what Yudhishthira says. Similarly, so many disasters have come and gone. Every time a disaster comes, the WhatsApp groups are there, they do blah, blah, blah. But what are we doing to prevent it? Nothing. We live on as if another disaster will not happen. We don't prepare ourselves for that. One pandemic will come, no lessons are learned. We'll be again victims of another pandemic. See, the real feeling, my view is, forget relief, rehabilitation, do it. But prevention of disaster, or at least being prepared for disaster. I can understand. Don't immediately correct me, sir. How will you stop a cyclone or a earthquake? I can't. Okay. But If I can predict that it will happen, the probability of its occurrence, and be ready when it happens, how I will be as less damaged as possible. Okay, so when an organization does it, it is risk management. When you do it for the society around you also, think that should be covered, but it is not. They are only talking about relief, rehabilitation, and reconstruction activities. Of course, the word disaster management could be wide enough to include prevention also, right? So, any expenditure related to COVID-19 pandemic under 1 to 12, 1, hunger, poverty, malnutrition, Swachh Bharat and all that. 2, promoting education, okay, 12, disaster management. Under these categories, if you do something relating to COVID-19 pandemic, it is CSR activity. Okay. Chalo. Now, only Hitesh Jain ji, I am coming to your question itself. Hitesh Jain was asking some questions on net worth and all that. As usual, intelligent students, we love them in the class because they are jumping the gun. Hitesh is saying, come fast, I'm going fast, follow me, like that. And I will do that. So these are the companies required to constitute a CSR committee. Please understand. First condition, you have to constitute a CSR committee. Okay. So which are the companies required to constitute a CSR committee? Every company having net worth of 500 crore or more, or turnover of rupees 1000 crore or more, or net profit of 5 crore or more during the immediately preceding financial year. So, 22 March, if I have satisfied one of these three conditions, then I should constitute a corporate social CSR committee in this year. 22-23, I should constitute a committee of the board, which is called the CSR committee. That committee should consist of 3 or more directors, 3 minimum or more, out of which at least one director shall be an independent director. We already saw independent director, one who does not have any financial interest in the company. No pecuniary or financial benefit from in the company, right? Such a person, at least one, minimum 3, right? The board's report shall disclose the composition of the CSR committee. So you'll notice that there's a link with the board's report. Sir, turnover defined in the act. Please look it up in the first chapter. Turnover defined. Net worth defined. I also told you in the last session also, when we came across the word net worth. Again, I will show you. Net profit not defined. That's why they define it for this section. So basically, it's the net profit as per the P&L account. From that, you have to reduce profit arising from any overseas branch, because you are not allowed to do CSR outside India. So any profit you derive outside India exempted. Logic. Profit arising from any overseas branch. Dividend received from other companies covered under and complying with the provisions of section 135. See, I am receiving dividend from some company which is covered by CSR, which is bound to do CSR, and they are doing it. Then that dividend, is coming after the CSR, right? So I don't have to do out of that again. Suppose I am getting 20 lakhs dividend from a company which is covered under CSR and doing it. Then on that 20 lakh, I will be including it in my profit, right? Income, it will be included, right? But I can reduce it for the purpose of arriving at net profit. Right. So rule 2(1)H, this is specifically for CSR. This is not section 2. This is rule 2 of the CSR rules. Please understand. Not section 2. Section 2 mein nahi hai. This is rule 2. Okay. So overseas branch and dividend received from some other company which is bound by CSR, which is under the CSR rules and covered under CSR and complying with that. Then that dividend I can remove it. Only the balance amount, on that I have to calculate the amount. Net worth already we've seen. Paid up share capital, all reserves created of profits, securities premium account, any debit or credit in the P&L account, because we only talked about reserves here. This is a surplus. If it's a debit, also you have to reduce it. Also, any accumulated losses, deferred expenditure, miscellaneous expenditure should be reduced, not written off. And even if you have revaluation reserve or other write back of depreciation, etc., not to be included in net worth. Similarly, you might have capital reserve arising from amalgamation. Okay, that capital reserve should not be taken, considered here. So, where a company is required to constitute a CSR committee, then in case it does not have an independent director, they are not required to appoint, because section 149, you will see only certain companies are compulsorily required to appoint independent director. Suppose this company is not required to appoint, then they can have a CSR committee without such a director. Where a private company has only 2 directors, then the CSR committee will be with only 2 directors. Because remember, we are talking about all companies, every company, even a private company may satisfy the criteria. In which case, do you notice one more thing? Here, listed company is not there. Only companies satisfying this criteria have to do CSR. So, all listed companies may not do CSR. Only those which are satisfying. With respect to foreign company covered under these rules, there is subsidiary. The CSR committee shall comprise of at least 2 persons, of which 1 person shall be specified under clause D of subsection 1 of section 380. Another person shall be nominated by the foreign company. Okay. Now, see, for the purpose of CSR, foreign subsidiary, foreign company, foreign subsidiary is not included, sorry. Foreign company having its branch office or project office in India. Now, such a fellow will ask, I am a foreign company, what are you talking about 149, blah, blah, I don't have all that. Then they will have to comprise 2 persons. 1 person shall be specified under clause D of subsection 1 of 380. Sir, 380 talks about companies incorporated outside India. And there will be 1 person who has to take responsibility for that in India. Okay. That person will be there, an agent. And that person is compulsorily has to be part of the CSR committee. And 1 other person who will be nominated by that foreign company. May not be a director, nominated. Okay. If a company ceases to be covered under subsection 1 of section 135 for 3 consecutive financial years, then, so you have to wait for 3 years. 3 years, if you have not had CSR, then it is not required to constitute CSR committee or comply with this section. Till such time that it meets the criteria again, right? I will come to this point a little later. I will go to compulsory CSR because then I can answer the question. Okay. Every company which is required to constitute the CSR committee should spend 2% of its profit, 2% of its profit compulsorily for CSR. 2%. Now let us look at Hiteshji's question, okay, which is he's been asking it for a long time. For fulfilling CSR, net worth is more than 500 crore or turnover is more than 2% of 3 immediately. No, immediately preceding financial year. See, 2% of the immediately preceding financial year. Okay, every year you have to see what is the profit last year. Out of that, you have to calculate 2% and pay. This immediately preceding financial year is only given for testing. Whether, suppose for 3 consecutive financial years you are not coming under that criteria, then from the 4th year onwards, you need not contribute. But once you come in, then for 3 years you have to calculate. But every time you have to calculate 2% of the immediately preceding financial year, not 3. Not 3. Not 3. Yeah. I'll come to this slide. So that's CSR. Let me say, I will answer Hitesh Jain's question because they were specific to the. Yeah, CSR is applicable to all companies except Section 8 companies. 100% correct. Okay, including private companies. So once the company has to have a CSR committee, then that CSR committee should formulate and recommend to the board an annual action plan. Okay, should give the list of CSR projects, the manner of execution, all that. Which is why the CSR committee, you can co-opt people from NGO background also, who will know how to do it. See, only NGO knows how to do it. For example, okay, Mehman Rafiq Bhai asks how many. Normally, the CSR committee should consist of 3 directors. Normally, normal company, 3 directors, public company, etc. Listed company, 3 directors. Out of that, 1 director should be independent director. Clear? Now the exemptions have been given where suppose a company is not required to have independent director, such a company can have 3 directors, all of them may be non-independent because they are not required to have an independent director. Private company may have only 2. In such a case, those 2 directors will form the CSR committee. Suppose the private company is having 8 directors, then 3. Okay. With respect to a foreign company covered under these rules, see, foreign company alone, they may not have directors in India. They will have foreign directors. So, but 1 person will be designated in India as an agent who will be the representative. That person under 381 and 1 more person nominated by the foreign company will be for a foreign company which is having a branch office or project office in India, which is covered by CSR. Again, that foreign company turnover net worth you have to see. Only if that is satisfied, the foreign company will come. Okay? Otherwise, it won't. I hope I have clarified, Memanji, and I hope you are satisfied with my explanation. Kindly confirm that you have understood. I have explained again. And it is not how much director. It is how many directors. Please explain again how many directors are required in CSR committee. Right? I mean, correcting your language is actually very easy. You just have to take a little more pain to learn the language. Little more, that's all. See, you love Hindi, right? Will you speak Hindi ungrammatically? Will you allow another person to speak Hindi in an ungrammatical way? Suppose I speak bad Hindi, will correct me, no? Same way for English also, right? English is also a language. It has its own grammar. It has its own, shall we say, syntax, way in which it does. You should respect that language. No? Just because you are not an English speaker by birth, doesn't mean you can speak it in any way you want. So respect that language. Then automatically that language will respect you and she will come to you. And you will be an expert in English also. Okay. Suppose I want to learn Hindi, which I am trying to do, I will try to learn grammatical Hindi, right? As much as possible, because I should not insult the language, right? So don't be casual in writing English. Easily it can be learned. Just because up to 10th standard you studied in vernacular medium doesn't mean you should not learn English. My grandfather studied in Tamil medium till 8th standard. My grandfather's qualification 8th standard, right? Then he did BT, Bachelor of Teaching. BT. In those days, 8th standard, they were called ESLC. 8th standard, then 8th standard. I'm talking about 1940s. He completed his BT and then he became a teacher. You know, my grandfather could speak excellent English. How? He trained himself. He studied in Tamil medium schools, but the English teacher used to teach English well. They had one subject called English. And he took interest in that and he learned. In fact, he used to correct graduates. Many of my father's clients who used to come to meet my father will talk to my grandfather about for 45 minutes and go because such an entertaining conversationalist. And he used to speak in English. And so he will correct their English also. And they'll be astounded. Though his qualification only 8th standard. Okay. So nothing, there's no such thing called, vernacular medium and all. You can study in a vernacular medium, but still you can learn English. My humble suggestion to you all, because though with Hindi, you can be a king in India, because our national language is Hindi, blah, blah. But having said that, at certain levels of higher level of management, English becomes sort of important. Please, try to appreciate this. Don't get angry with me. Hindi is enough. With Hindi, you can rule the world. No, not possible. Maybe you can rule this country. Maybe you can rule a portion of this country. But if you want to really be an internationally recognized member, then somewhere you have to polish your English. This is my humble suggestion to you all as students of the institute. Okay, so don't become blind and say, Sirf Hindi is enough. I will survive with Hindi and all. Yes, you can. Yes, you can, no doubt. But higher levels of management, when you come to say you want to become higher level, then suddenly you'll find everybody speaking in English. And at that time, you cannot command them and say, all of you speak in Hindi, because private sector, they'll say bullshit. Sorry, can't put rules there. So be very, very careful. In your own personal growth interest, don't become blind. And hey, good questions you're asking. OPC, whether it comes under CSR, technically, yes. It looks like it now because it says every company and OPC is a company. I'll check up if there is any exemption for OPC and get back to you, sir. Good question, Raghavanji. Good question. I will check up. I'm noting this question. Whether OPC comes, I'm not able to give a direct answer. Sorry. Private company is there, no doubt. I think OPC also will come. Then the question is, who will constitute the CSR committee? Seriously, I'll have to check out and get back to you. Good question, though. No, Hindi is our Rajya Bhasha. Hindi is our Rajya Bhasha. English is just an add-on. Hindi first. Everybody should know Hindi. English is just English is add-on. My son corrected me yesterday when I made this point. He said, Hindi is our Rajya Bhasha. And as a matter of concession for people like me, they have added English as a sort of a concession. English. Of course, we have 23 national languages, which are all of them. Your Malayalam, your Telugu, your Kannada, my Tamil. Okay, I don't know, Bhojpuri is there or not. I think many of these languages will die. Chhattisgarhi will die. Bhojpuri will die. Thanks to Hindi, all your local North Indian languages will die. And only Hindi will be there. But South, luckily, we maintain our languages and our language is also flourishing. Tamil is flourishing. Telugu is flourishing. In Kannada, Malayalam, those languages alive and kicking, doing very well. But okay, sir. Thank you, Madam Mehman Rakfik Bhai. Okay. Don't get angry with me. Don't get angry with teachers, because something that we say may hurt in the short run, but will be very useful to you in the long run. If a teacher has to be friendly, then it will be dangerous to that student. Friendly teachers are popular, no doubt. Teachers like me who keep giving lectures are unpopular, no doubt. But who will do more benefit, you decide. National language we have, 23 languages we have. Hindi is the official language of the government of India and central government. English is a concession. For people like me who cannot understand Hindi, English is a concession allowed. You can also talk in English. Okay, so we've seen all this moving on. Okay, so the CSR committee will formulate the CSR policy and give it to the board. After taking into account the recommendation of the CSR committee, it will approve the CSR policy, disclose the content in the board report, and also place the CSR policy on the company's website. Ensure that the activities as are included in the CSR policy of the company are undertaken by the company. So the board shall either ensure that the company is carrying on the activity by itself or through any of the following entities. So even if the company cannot do it, then it can engage a Section 8 company or a company established under Section 8 of the Act, or any entity established under an Act of Parliament, etc., or a company established or a registered trust or a society having a established track record of at least 3 years in undertaking similar activities. So they can use such bodies. Okay. But basically you can give CSR to a trust or a registered public trust or a registered society under Section 12A and 8H. See, Section 8 company need not do CSR for obvious reasons. One, it does not have a profit. So where is the 2%? More importantly, the main purpose itself is social activity. Okay. Partnership firms are not covered. See, Companies Act does not govern partnership firms. So, no, CSR, compulsory CSR not on partnership firms. LLP, I don't know. I'm honestly not aware of LLP. Every entity which intends to undertake any CSR activity shall register with the central government. See, this is for any of these entities, they have to get themselves registered with the central government. See, if you are an NGO and you want to receive CSR from a company, corporate social responsibility money, then that NGO should be registered under the form CSR1 with the registrar, ROC, MCA website. That should be signed and filed by the entity, and it should be verified by a chartered accountant or a company secretary. Once the CSR1 is submitted, a unique CSR registration number will be given to them, which should be quoted whenever they apply for CSR money. So many companies are willing to give. A lot of companies have surplus CSR. They don't know what to do. So a society can go and ask and get that money. Now, can I use international organizations? Yeah, why not? For example, I have been auditing international organizations like Population Services International and all, which are international organizations which engage in providing CSR in India. They are good at designing, monitoring, and evaluating CSR projects. Okay. For example, I have audited on behalf of PSI, where they were, I'm talking about 15, 16 years ago, AIDS was a major issue. Now AIDS is not seen as a major issue because now we know how to protect ourselves and we know the seriousness of the issue. So all that thing is there. Whereas in those days, rampant AIDS was a major threat and people are so afraid. At that time, AIDS awareness creation programs were conducted by various bodies, including the Indian Network for People Living with HIV/AIDS. Okay, it's a very powerful support group. I was auditor for that. And on behalf of Population Services International, foreign funder, I have audited across the country, right up to Nagaland I have gone. Okay, right down to Kanyakumari, right up to Nagaland I have gone to verify whether the money is being spent for AIDS awareness. Not AIDS promotion, sorry, AIDS awareness. Okay, and eradication. Finally, the organization became so successful, they eradicated AIDS. That's all. That one example where an organization achieved its goal and became redundant. That was INP Plus, where they could not eradicate AIDS, but awareness became so much that the number of cases became statistically insignificant. And now AIDS is not seen as the greater threat is TB. Forget your pandemic. The real threat today facing us is TB. Okay, you may still continue to wear the mask even if there is no pandemic when you're going on the road, because anybody who's coughing, TB is there. If he's coughing or mucus and all, it can spread. Okay, TB is the real danger now. There are so many people who have TB don't even know. Suddenly, when it becomes too complicated, they'll take it up. You have to be very careful. You have to keep on taking tests to ensure that you are not from TB. TB screening is to be done. So such activities are CSR. My Rotary Club has a TB screening van. So we go to public places and we screen people and tell them you are having some symptoms, please go to a hospital or get yourself treated. Okay. So a company may also collaborate with other companies. So international agencies can be used for training and all that and building capacity. Company also collaborate with other companies, but when they are combining, it should be possible to separate their contribution and report separately. See, combining is a good idea. Collaboration is good so that the funding will become more. But each company should know clearly how much they have spent on each project so that they can report it in their director's report. Also, the board should satisfy itself that the funds have been utilized for this purpose and in the manner approved by it and the CFO. See, this is a specialized activity. In fact, I have done work on behalf of the Asim Premji, philanthropic initiatives for APP and all, where we are hired to verify whether the project is worthy at all for giving money and all. So things like that. What I'm saying is it's a specialization by itself. CSR is a specialization by itself. You can also invest in an ongoing project. An ongoing project is a multi-year project undertaken by a company in fulfillment of its CSR obligation, but the timeline should not exceed 3 years. So there may be a project that is going beyond 1 year. Up to 3 years you can go. That is called an ongoing project, also multi-year project. Now, in the case of an ongoing project, the board of the company shall monitor, implement with reference to the approved timelines, year-wise allocation. So every year, how much are you going to spend? And whether that has been spent like that. So it is possible to have more than 1 year project also. Then because CSR should be sustainable, right? So they can have. Now, amount of contribution. Finally, I come to that. The board of every company required to form CSR committee. So if you come under the criteria of requirement to form a CSR committee, then you should ensure that the company spends in every financial year at least 2% of the average net profits of the 3 immediately preceding financial years. Now, to answer Mr. Raghavan's question, sir, OPC will also be covered, sir. Why? Because OPC will have only one member, but it can have more than one director. So in case this company is coming under the criteria, then it should constitute a CSR committee, for which it should have at least 2, because OPC is a private company. At least 2 directors it should have and constitute a committee. So, Mr. Raghavan, I have answered your question based on logic. Because they have not specifically exempted OPC. OPC is covered. In which case, you should have 2 directors. You should form a CSR committee. You should contribute 2% of the... See, an OPC can be covered by this. Why not? Even an OPC has to contribute to society, right? Where the company has not completed the period of 3 financial years, okay, then it should do only where the company has not completed the period of 3 financial years, then during such immediately preceding financial years. Oh, I'm so sorry. Hey, Hitesh, you are right, yeah, as usual. It should contribute at least 2% of the average net profits of 3 immediately preceding financial years. Sorry. Absolutely. You are right. Okay. You should calculate the average net profits of 3 immediately preceding financial years and calculate 2% of that average, and that should be spent every year. Okay. So which means what? 22 March, 21 March, 20 March. Okay. You should verify whether you are coming in that criteria at all. Yes. Then go back 3 immediately preceding financial years and calculate 2% of the average net profits of the 3 immediately preceding financial years. Right? Thank you, Hitesh, for that. And you're asking us a question, but actually it was very good. Okay. Good. Now, so immediately preceding 3 financial years, you calculate the average on that 2%. Sir, I have not completed 3. Then you take the immediately preceding financial years. You are coming in that criteria, then you are not completed 3 years, no problem. Take the immediately preceding 1 year or 2 year and do it. Okay, so this is how you have to calculate. Good, thank you. where the company has not completed, okay, preference shall be given to the local area of operation, and companies may build CSR capability of their own personnel also. But in case you are doing it in-house, then the total expenditure on administrative overhead shall not exceed 5% of the total CSR. 5% of the total CSR. Administrative overhead. Okay, you can't spend, because what will happen, equally these fellows will take regular expenditure and push it here and claim it as CSR and all. So for this purpose, administrative overhead is only 5%. So the board will ensure that 2% of the average net profits of the 3 immediately preceding financial years is spent. You already seen this? I'm sorry. Now, suppose you don't spend, failure, then the board shall in its report specify the reasons for not spending. If the unspent amount relates to any ongoing project, you can keep it, because you have very clearly said this is an ongoing project. I'm collecting this money will be kept and spent in the next current year to next year, 3 years. So that amount can be kept till the 3rd year. When if it is still remaining unspent, that will become unspent in that year. Okay, so I'll calculate 2%, spend something this year, something is unspent. I formulate an ongoing project and say, hey, this project needs sustainability over 3 years. So we are supporting the school, sir, where we are doing it over 3 years. Chalo, no problem. But other than an ongoing project, any amount unspent should be transferred to the fund specified in Schedule 7 within a period of 6 months of the expiry of the financial year. Okay, so during the financial year, you should find out what is your profit. 2% of it you should spend. They are giving you another 6 months. Within that 6 months, if you have not spent it, you have to transfer it to the CSR fund. That is not yet specified, but till such time it is there, you can't keep that money. It has to be transferred to the fund. Okay, any surplus. For example, I might have a CSR activity where I'm charging. See, I might be running a blood bank. No, blood bank actually will have a surplus, I assure you, because people pay to take the blood. You get the blood voluntarily. It's a public service activity, but surplus will come. Or you are promoting traditional handicrafts. They are sold at a profit. You surplus generated. Now that surplus shall not form part of the business profits. It shall be plowed back into the same project. If you are not able to do that, then the surplus should be transferred to the unspent CSR account. Unspent, see, you have your own unspent CSR account, and if you have ongoing project, you spend it in pursuance of the CSR policy, etc. But if you are not doing it, you have to transfer it to the specified fund within 6 months. Best thing is for every company to have an ongoing project, so that anytime they have surplus, they can push it for at least 2 years. They will have breathing time to spend it instead of transferring it to the fund. Suppose you have done excess expenditure. Wow. More than 2%, then you can carry forward and set off against the requirement in the immediate succeeding 3 financial years. So you have a surplus here, excess expenditure here, good, not surplus, excess expenditure carried forward. And next year you calculate 2% of the average net profit of 3 immediately preceding financial year. That money you need not spend. This money can be adjusted. But then the excess amount available for set off shall not include the surplus. Surplus should be fully spent or else ongoing project. But any excess spent this year, see, I have to spend so much, I have spent it, plus my project has realized some profit, then there is surplus. Surplus has to be again used in the same. Within 3 years you have to finish. But if suppose I am not generating any surplus, I have spent more than 2%, then that can only be carried forward. Okay, any surplus cannot be carried forward, right? Means even if you have a surplus in a CSR activity, you still have to contribute 2% in the next year, average in the next year. Whereas suppose you have spent more in this year than required, that excess amount can be taken forward and set off. The board of the company should pass a resolution to the effect of set off future. Capital expenditure can be incurred on CSR. You can create or acquire a capital asset, but that capital asset cannot be owned by the company. It should be held by a Section 8 company or a registered public trust or a society or by the beneficiaries of the said project in the form of special help groups, collectives, entities. For example, suppose you're giving some asset to a school, gym, you're creating a laboratory for a school, then that all those assets will belong to the school, like that. You cannot own it. In other words, your own capital expenditure, you cannot try to push it off as CSR. So anything which has been created prior to the commencement of the Companies Act under CSR within a period of 180 days should be transferred. Okay. You should comply with the requirement of this rule. That 180 days may be another 90 days with the for approval of the board based on reasonable justification. Now, what is the rule for amounts remaining unspent? 135(6). Any amount remaining unspent pursuant to any ongoing project, you transfer it to unspent amount or unspent CSR amount account. In our own company, we open an account and we transfer. That should be done within 30 days from the end of the financial year to a special account to be opened in that company in that behalf called unspent CSR account, just like unpaid dividend account. Within 30 days from the end of the financial year, you have to do it. Now that amount shall be utilized by the company in pursuance of its obligation towards the CSR within a period of 3 financial years from the date of such a transfer. So during the current year, I am unable to spend unspent. That should be put in a separate account. Then that amount should be utilized within 3 financial years. This is not ongoing project. They are actually giving you permission to use it within 3 financial years. Suppose the amount is not so utilized within 3 financial years, then it will be transferred to a fund specified in Schedule 7, 30 days from the date of completion of the 3rd financial year. So, 22 March, I should have spent 15 crore. I spent only 12 crore. Within 30 days, I should transfer that remaining 3 crore to unspent account. Then that 3 crore should be spent within the next 3 years. Suppose I have not done it, means you should spend it within a period of 3 years from the date of transfer. Please understand, date of transfer. So suppose I transferred it on, let us say 5th April. 5th April 22. Then 23, 24, 25. Before 5th April 25, you should have spent it. Otherwise, within 30 days from that, you have to, from the end of the 3rd financial year, you have to transfer it. Okay. Here they use the word 3 financial years from the date of such transfer. So my understanding is, suppose 5th April, then 22, 23, 24, 25. Right? So before 31/3/25, you have to spend it, is what I see. It's all confusing, but because 5th April 25 will push me into the next financial year. But they're saying it should be 30 days from the date of completion of the 3rd financial year. Not only, or do they mean 3 years from the end of 22, in which case 23, 24, 25, 31st March 25. But they're saying 3 years from the end of the date of such transfer. Not only, see, I can only teach you the subject. I cannot justify what they are doing. So be careful, yeah. Before 31st March, you finish it off. That's the best thing. Until a fund is specified, the unspent CSR amount shall be transferred to any fund included in Schedule 7. They will notify it. Once they notify it, you have to transfer it. Today, I will close the topic. Give me some time. The time now is just give me a little time, I'll finish up. This is hardly a few more slides to go. The board's report should include an annual report on CSR, etc. In case you are doing Tata Motors, please look at the CSR report also there. If you are looking at Tata Motors, look at the CSR report in that board of directors report. Okay, the annual report on CSR. The board's report should include an annual report on CSR. The particulars in Annexure 1 or Annexure 2 they have given, you have to comply. You don't have to mug up Annexure 1, Annexure 2. You're not a company secretary, you don't have to waste all that. Now, every company having average CSR obligation of 10 crore rupees or more in the 3 immediately preceding financial years. So when a company has been spending 10 crore or more for 3 consecutive financial years, then it should undertake an impact assessment through an independent agency of their CSR projects having outlay of 1 crore or more. Friends, this is not unknown. I know companies that have to contribute 100 crore, 50 crore and all, because their profits are huge. 2% is huge. They have to contribute. So there are like that also. So when they do that, then when the one project, single project is more than 1 crore rupees, then you should have impact assessment. Means, what was the impact? Did you see? I gave an example now. AIDS awareness money was spent for creating awareness for AIDS. What is the impact? AIDS has come down. For that, you have to collect statistics. Simply, you cannot say AIDS has come down. District-wise, you have to collect statistics for 10 years and show that the graph has come down. That is called impact assessment. That can be done only by trained people. Okay. The impact assessment report will be placed before the board and will be annexed to the annual report. Now, who has to do it? Only those companies which have contributed which have spent more than 10 crore consecutively in the 3 immediately preceding financial years, and their single project is more than 1 crore. Only in respect of those projects, you should do impact assessment. Okay. A company undertaking impact assessment may book the expenditure, that expenditure towards CSR. So any impact assessment cost is part of CSR, but that shall not exceed 5% of the total CSR for that financial year. So any expenditure which has been made towards the impact assessment will also be added to CSR expenditure to the extent of 5% of the CSR or 50 lakhs, whichever is less. So impact is also part of CSR cost. One more thing, I missed out this. Let me go back and quickly tell you. See, where the amount to be spent by a company on CSR does not exceed 50 lakh. See, I calculate for 22 March, I calculate 22, 21, 23 immediately preceding financial years, I calculate. So my expenditure during 22-23, will be 2% of the average net profits of the immediately preceding 3 financial years, right? So 22-23, I should spend 2% of 22 March, 21 March, 20 March divided by 3. Suppose that money is less than 50 lakhs, then they need not form a CSR committee. Up to 50 lakhs, they are saying no need for a CSR committee. It is enough if the committee, enough if the directors themselves do it. Board of directors will be the committee. Okay, where the amount to be spent does not exceed 50 lakh. Amount to be spent is 2% of the immediately preceding 3 financial years. 2% of the average net profits of 3 immediately. So for 22-23, I should spend 2% of profit of 22 plus profit of 21 plus profit of 20 divided by 3 into 2%. That amount I have to spend. Got it? I hope you are clear. If I have explained this correctly, kindly confirm it because this is very important. Hitesh, you can also confirm whether I have explained it correctly. Unspent CSR account is a bank account. Okay. The special account to be opened by the company in that behalf in any scheduled bank. It is a bank account. If a company started 1 year ago, then in the year of incorporation, no need. The first financial year, nothing. Second financial year, you should calculate what is the 2% of first that you have to contribute, like that. Okay? Because first year, how I will know? Immediately preceding. Good question, Ankurji. Good question. If preceding 3 years there is a loss, no contribution. That's all. That is what I meant. Even if I am incurring loss, I will contribute to CSR. Don't do that. Your goal is to make money. Only when you make profit, you have to do it. If you are making loss, enjoy. Don't have to contribute. Okay. Who will do the impact assessment is a good question. Impact assessment will be done usually by international agencies now, or multinational firms. They have. That's what I told. No, CSR is a specialized activity. You can specialize in that and become an expert, especially chartered accountants can try it. But for that, you should work in a consulting firm specializing in CSR. So only they can do impact assessment. It is to be very, very metric. You have to calculate everything correctly. Okay, so the board of directors shall mandatorily disclose the composition of the CSR committee, CSR policy, and projects approved by the board for public access. The idea is, suppose you're an NGO and you want to apply for the CSR money from a company, you can go to the website, find out CSR policy. There will give an application form also. If you're satisfying, you can take it. If you're a Rotary Club, you want to get CSR, please go. Beautifully, you can do it. Okay. If there is a default in complying with provisions of this section, especially constitution of CSR committee, contribution to CSR. Constitution, once you are liable to constitute, you have to contribute. The penalty is twice the amount required to be transferred to the fund specified. Suppose you got to see one of the important default is not contributing or the unspent amount. So 2 times that amount or 1 crore, whichever is less, has to be by the company. For officers, 1/10 of the amount required to be transferred to the fund or 2 lakh, whichever is less. So that is, see, my dear friend, 22-23 March, you should have spent 2% of 3 immediately preceding financial year, average 2%. You have not spent it. Then the entire amount should be transferred to the fund within 30 days. Correct? Or that you should first of all transfer it to an account. You can't keep it in the company and rotate it. Within 30 days, you have to transfer it to a separate account. Then within 3 years, you have to spend it. Within 3 years, if you don't spend it, then you have to transfer it to the fund. So 2 times that amount will be the penalty for the company. 1/10 will be the penalty for officer. With a minimum of 1 crore, I mean, with a cap of 1 lakh or 1 crore, 2 lakhs or 1 crore. So there's a cap. Maximum 1 crore for of company, maximum 2 lakh for officers. Right. The central government may give directions for compliance with the provisions of this section and may make it not applicable also. IFSC company, we already saw that it is not applicable for a period of 5 years. Okay, we already saw that. You know what is an IFSC company? From 2017, it shall not apply for a period of 5 years, which means 22 it will get over. Unless they renew it, IFSC is exempted up to 22. Okay, so let me see. Time is now 9:33. Give me another 10 minutes to complete internal audit, Jujube topic. Yes, mandatory internal audit has been made. Internal audit has become mandatory. So some companies have to compulsorily appoint internal auditor. Listed company with a paid up share capital of 50 crores or more during the previous financial year. Or, I'm sorry, all listed companies should have mandatory internal audit. Unlisted company, either paid up share capital exceeding 50 crore, turnover exceeding 200 crore, or outstanding loans from banks or PFI exceeding 100 crores, or outstanding deposits of 25 crores or more. So if one of these criteria is satisfied, unlisted company should have a unlisted public company. Even a private company should have internal audit, compulsory. See, voluntarily you can have, but compulsory if the turnover of 200 crores or more during previous financial year. The outstanding loans or borrowings from banks or PFI exceed 100 crores or more, right? You can try to remember this. See, what I suggest now, make out a chart of these limits. Companies required to have CSR. Companies required to appoint internal auditor. Like that, if you prepare a chart, in an Excel sheet, you'll see so many criteria are there. Basically, paid up capital, turnover, profit, loans, like that. So just check out and see. You can ask me, Mr. Srikanth, why don't you prepare that sheet and give it to us? Definitely, I can give it and get good name from you. But who will be the loser? See, when you prepare this chart, at that time your memory will be triggered. Suppose I prepare a chart and give it to you, you keep it, thank you, sir, for the additional data and all. I will get a good name as a teacher. But your knowledge will not expand. You do it yourself, you will be able to remember. So prepare a chart. Okay. I'm sure highly, involved students like Poojaji or Hitesh will do. Okay. There is no compulsory publication in thing. Only they are saying you should put it in the website. If you want, you can publish it. Why not? Definitely. magazines and all, you can put publicity then. But that money will not be counted as CSR spent. That is advertisement. It will not be included as CSR. Any cost of putting that advertisement is not a CSR. Okay, that will come under publicity, which you can claim as an expense. Now, who can be an internal auditor? Chartered accountant, cost accountant, other professional. Kyun? Kaun? I don't know. Maybe company secretary? Okay, maybe, see, there's something called the Institute of Internal Auditors, IIA. Maybe they might include, now today, no, but maybe they might say, member of the Institute of Internal Auditors. It's an examination, CIA, Certified Internal Auditor exam. Okay, it's an international body. You can be a member of in the Institute of Internal Auditors. Many CAs and CWAs, CMAs, or whatever they call themselves, they are members of IIA. Okay. Anyway, the best person who can be internal auditor is the member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. With cost accountants with operational experience do bring value to the internal audit. Okay, so I think that is the best. Other professional, I don't know. They have included. Internal auditor may or may not be an employee of the company. Later on, you are going to see statutory auditor shall not be an employee. Employee cannot become statutory auditor. But internal auditor may be an employee of the company. But it may not be also. It can be a firm of CAs or a firm of cost accountant also. The internal auditor may be either an individual or a partnership firm or a body corporate. The audit committee of the board or the company or the board shall, in consultation with the internal auditor, formulate the scope, functioning, periodicity, and methodology for conducting the internal audit. Many large listed companies have internal audit department. Even unlisted companies which are huge, they have their own internal audit department. But which is good. Internal audit is an important function, part of the internal control mechanism meant to protect the company from frauds and other type of leakages. Beautiful. So thank you for bearing a little more time. So the time now is almost 9:40. I don't have any questions from you in the query pad. Therefore, I shall presume that imagine advocate as an internal auditor. Good joke. Imagine company secretary as an internal auditor. Okay. With that, on that humorous note, let me conclude this session. Thank you very much. Wishing you all a great day. And next session, we will take up auditors, audit and auditors. Thank you.